The 2023 season for the San Francisco Giants probably was not as well as they would have liked. I mean, 79 and 83, it's not terrible. However, it ended up putting them fourth place in their division behind the Padres. And then behind the Dodgers won 100 games. The Diamondbacks made it to the World Series, and then they were still behind the Padres as well. Not an ideal season. However, still, I would say, still some hope for the Giants. They have talent, and they made a couple moves this offseason, so it'll be very interesting to see how their season for 2024 plays out. But let's not waste any more time. Let's dive straight into this. My name is Derek. I'm here with Mike. You are watching Bleacher Brawls, and this is your San Francisco Giants 2024 team profile. First things first with the Giants, let's dive straight into their key players. Obviously, they have some talent. They have some fun players as well, and a lot of players, a couple of young players too that I'm excited to look forward to. So I'll hand it over to Mike first, though. Who are three key players for the Giants team, and who are you looking forward to making a big impact on the team in 2024?
Yeah, man. I think first things first, you got to go with Logan Webb. I think he's kind of like the face of the franchise right now, at least pitching wise. And then Jung Ho Lee. That was their big acquisition right this year. I think they're going to be expecting big things from him. A few pitchers I think that are going to be not starting the season, or a few players I should say. I know Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray. I don't think either of them are going to start the season due to injury. But I think the most important one is Logan Webb. I think the dude's finished second in Cy Youngs the last couple of years. I think it's time for him to kind of just make that step, become the most dominant pitcher in the division, help this team, get back to relevancy.
Yeah, definitely. Logan Webb's obviously, I think he's a legit Cy Young contender for 2024. I do want to name drop a couple other guys. I want to throw out like a Camille Duvall, Tyro Estrada, Kyle Harrison I like a lot too, but for our people who maybe haven't been following Bleach Bros a long time or whatnot, haven't been following, I've written a lot about Jung-Hoo Lee on the Bleach Bros website. I did a video on him. I actually think we did a couple videos on him at some point. So I'll try and leave those in the description if I remember to do that. But so Jung-Hoo Lee, I'll kind of cover him a little bit here. Coming over from the KBO, last season he only played 86 games. I think he had a fractured ankle, which ended his season. But he hit 318 last year, a 139 weighted runs created plus, which it was definitely a down season. It was worst season probably since 2020. 12.7% walk rate though, that bumped up just a 6% strikeout rate. However, his big year was 2022 when he won the KBO MVP in just age 23 season, where he hit 349 with a 996 OPS. It was a 175 weighted runs created plus, 23 home runs that year, and he also had 10.5% walk rate and just a 5% strikeout rate. He had a very good year, and he's also solid in the outfield as well. Solid defensively in the outfield too. I think it'll be very interesting to see what he does in the big leagues. A guy like a Ha-Sung Kim, who was his teammate in Korea, has proven that hitters from Korea can translate to the big leagues. It did take Ha-Sung Kim a little bit of time to make the adjustment, but once the adjustment was made, he's settled in, has been amazing. I think Lee Jung-Hoo is a better player than Ha-Sung Kim was when Ha-Sung Kim came over. So I think Lee will have a better chance to get used to it quicker. Now, his first MLB games, a lot of people thought he was going to sign with the Padres. His first MLB games would have been in Korea. That didn't happen. Obviously, he went to the Giants. But his first MLB games being with the Giants and being, for his first home games being at a park that is, has had some changes and become a little bit more hitter friendly. I forget what it's called. I forget what their park is called now. I think they changed the name a couple times. But the Giants' home field, that's like they moved center field in, I think, and they changed like the wall height, and the right center isn't like nearly as deep. I don't think it's as deep as it was. They've moved around a little bit, so I think overall, I think he'll have success there. Love to see him hit a couple splash home runs out to right field. He's not the massive power guy though, but he can still stroke it a little bit. So I think he'll be a big improvement for the Giants. And if you want to read up on him, check it out on the Bleacher Bros website. Like I said, if I remember, which hopefully I will try and link my column on him, or one of the columns I discussed him in the YouTube video, because I know I did a YouTube video, and I'm going to try and link those in the description to this. But let's move on to off-season requirements. Obviously, Jung-Hoo Lee, they did bring in 6 years, $113 million. They also brought in Jordan Hicks to start, too, which was an interesting development. They also brought in Tom Murphy, and they traded for Robbie Ray, where they traded away Mitch Haniger and Anthony Desclafani. Hand it back over to you, Mike. What move do you think is going to have a big effect on the Giants team in 2024?
Um, I'll be honest with you. I think it's got to be Jung Hong Lee. I think not to go too much in what you just kind of just continued, but I think this is kind of like this was their prize pick this year. This was the guy that's I think hoping the most for. I mean, the dude definitely can put up numbers. You know. In the KBO, so I think the transition to MLB is not going to be the easiest. I think of all the guys coming over across the seas, I think this is the guy I think maybe baseball fans have the most pause on. However, I mean, I don't think he's going to have too much of an issue. I think he's going to adjust well with this team. I think the Giants know how to handle players like this, so I really don't see a problem with it. I think that's going to be the key piece to them to have a successful season or not successful season.
Definitely, especially because he was their big kind of marquee signing. But I'm going to touch on something. I'm going to touch on one of my favorite players in the big leagues, and I'm excited to see him get a chance to start legitimately instead of what the Cardinals did and just chucking him in there to start and like kind of doing it, but then they're not doing it. And then, which is Jordan Hicks, 4 years, $44 million, and he's going to be starting. Jordan Hicks, he's nasty. Elite fastball sinker type. Sometimes it's fastball, sometimes it registers as a sinker, but whatever you want to call it, it's really good, and he throws it really fast, whether you want to call it a fastball or a sinker. Last year had a 3.29 ERA split between the Cardinals and the Blue Jays, but once going over to the Blue Jays, had a 2.63 ERA in 24 innings and was very solid for them. The year before in 2022, it was a 4.84 ERA. He made 8 starts. Those 8 starts were a little bit rough. But he's now got more of a third pitch developed, so I think he will have a much better chance of being able to stick as a starter. And here's the thing with this contract. It's $11 million a year. $11 million a year, if he doesn't work out at start and you stick him in the bullpen and he's a back-end reliever and it's Jordan Hicks and Camilo Doval in the back end of your bullpen, $11 million is not that bad for a back-end reliever. Like, we see guys like Kenley Jansen on the Red Sox who's getting paid $16 million. You see guys... like Josh Hader's contract that he just got. I know Hader's like elite, but like Craig Kimbrell just got $13 million from the Orioles, right? And he's not elite anymore, right? So $11 million is not bad for a back end reliever. And so at the worst case scenario, you have a really good setup man for Camilo Doval. Best case scenario, you have a very solid starting pitcher to put in the middle of your rotation to go behind Logan Webb and Kyle Harrison, who I am really high on Kyle Harrison. As well, so I think this is going to be a really interesting rotation, and the Giants know what they're doing with pitching too, so there's also that. Last but not least, expectations for 2024. I'll hand it back over to you, Mike, for expectations. What are your expectations for this Giants team into 2024?
My expectations is for them to be active in the market. I think this team is severely missing a number 2. Well, obviously he's yet to be seen, but if they get a dominant number 2. I think it could go. I think it could go well for them. I think they can actually contend in the division. They're going to be that the pest in all these major leagues thorn. They've always kind of have been. They're not looked as the top tier, but they hold themselves in that contention. So when you go to Oracle Park, which by the way is probably one of the most beautiful baseball parks I've ever been to. I think when they view themselves like that, they kind of put themselves in that contention. They get a number 2. I think they can make a splash this year for sure. They're not like I said. So I think my prediction to them is for them not to be. I think for them not to settle. I think for them to be aggressive, go get that player. They've been out on the top players the last few years. I think they're kind of starting to make their stride now.
Yeah, I think the expectation for them, they're going to want to be in playoff contention, pushing for a wild card spot. But at the same time, they're going to want to see improvements from their young players, such as Kyle Harrison and Marco Luciano. I think those are kind of their 2 keys for this Giants team. Because those 2 guys are kind of you're young, really good young player on the offensive side of things in terms of Luciano, in terms of his future. He's got a very bright future ahead of him. And then Kyle Harrison, obviously, is the best left-handed starting pitching prospect in baseball. Coming into this year, his prospect status he's almost exceeded prospect status, but he's still technically a prospect as of now before the season starts. So he's someone I'm very excited to see next year, see what he does in the full season, because he made 7 starts last year. 4.15 ERA, but I'm excited to see what he does next year in a full season and after a full off season, getting ready to be a big league pitcher. So yeah, I think they got. But I think with that young player focus, like having those two guys grow, I think they need to be pushing for a playoff spot, and that's going to be the goal for them. But I think that's a good place to wrap it up. So make sure to check out all our other team profiles that we've done and that we will be doing part of our 40 videos in 40 days. Giants fans, let us know your thoughts in the comments on your team and what do you expect heading into 2024. For Mike, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning into Brawls and the San Francisco Giants team profile, and we will see you next time.